When I close my eyes, I often see winter and mountains. I think about ice and coldness, but mostly I think about this beautiful white carpet that is snow. And I dream of it. I dream about hiking in this peaceful environment. But it hasn't always been like that. When I was a kid, I did not really like hiking. It was more something like I have to do, but I was not enjoying it whatsoever. If I was with people I like, it was kinda fun, but the walking part, not for me. I mean, I've always loved mountains, but I was more into, extreme sports, like skiing, biking, jumping from cliffs. But since then, things have changed. In recent years, I got the opportunity to hike more and more, and I kinda got into it. So with my dad, we decided to take a little trip. When I go on a trip, I always consider that the journey to get there is a part of the adventure. Being in a car can be very long, but I like it. Because you can do plenty of things in a car. You can listen to music, you can draw or read, you can eat, but mostly you can think. And sometimes it just feels great to do nothing. We spent the night at the hotel. After a great night, it was time for us to hit the road one last time. After a bit of driving, we finally arrived to the mountains. And there was some snow which was getting thicker and thicker. We arrived at a little village called Lilex. I'm always so excited when we arrive to the mountains. Probably because I'm never satisfied with the winters we get in Belgium. So when I see all that snow, it just makes me so happy. The weather was not that great. It was even raining, which made everything harder. Walking on the snow is very different from walking on a normal path. It's way more difficult, because even with the snowshoes, you still sink a little bit. The moment after the break is often the hardest, because you get cold and your legs get numb. Yet you still have to put a foot in front of the other. You enter in autopilot mode. There is just you and this peaceful environment, surrounded by beautiful landscapes. And it's kinda meditative. You empty your mind, and you simply walk thinking about nothing. Every step you make in the snow is also a step inside you. When you are hiking, you can really get in connection with yourself. You get to know your limits, and you forge your mental. As we were getting higher, the landscapes got prettier. After a few hours, we got closer from the summit. At that moment, I was so tired. I did not have any strength remaining in my body. But this is when, under a beautiful sunset, we finally arrived at the summit. And standing there, we were the highest people of the whole Jura. No matter how high is the mountain, it is always so satisfying to get to the top of a summit. It's a memory you will never forget. We didn't stay at the top very long though. We still had to hike a lot and the sun was already setting. Tiredness was starting to take over my body. We became a little nervous, even though the feeling of happiness remained predominant. We arrived at our first little shelter. But there wasn't a fireplace or even a spot to put some beds inside. And we knew there was another hut further. Despite being tired, we decided to continue. The sun slowly stopped to warm us up, and the mountains started to disappear. This is when that happened. Hey, I think we lost. We definitely are. By the time it got dark, we had lost track of the path. We were just alone, lost in the silent mountain. It was getting cold, and all my muscles were numb. But at this point, we couldn't stop. We had to carry on. There wasn't any other choices. But then, I stared at a tree, and there was some paint on it. We still walked a little bit, and we found a sign with a map on it. We were back on the path. I was so relieved. We were so close to the shelter. From that moment, I knew we were going to sleep under a ceiling this night. Getting lost in the mountains really taught me that you don't hike to conquer the summits. You hike to meet them, to admire them, to feel them. But you will never be stronger than them. A few hundred meters, and we finally arrived to the hut. When I got inside, I realized how I felt at home. Finally removing my shoes felt so great. This lodge was so perfect. There were some pans, some cutlery, candles, and even some real beds. We immediately lit up a fire and melted some snow to get a little bit of water. When we hike, we don't really eat high gastronomy food. We focus on lightweight and energetic meals. But when we are that tired, everything tastes so much better. So the noodles and the pastas were awesome. Now that our belly were full, it was time for us to go to bed. There is really something about sleeping in such a remote place. Nobody around, just us, the hut and the mountains, with only the sound of the fire dying downstairs. It was a really great night. It was strange to see this place, but with some light. The path was badly marked. That is why we got lost the day before. As we were getting higher, the fog got thicker. Hiking was hard, but so awesome at the same time. The conditions were so different from the day before, that we didn't even felt at the same place anymore. We were pretty much in a new mountain, and it was so awesome to discover this place a second time. We ate, knowing that the mountains were around us. We could feel them, even though we couldn't see them. Time started to accelerate. It was the last straight line, and after no time, we were already at the bottom of the mountain. We were so exhausted when we finally arrived to the car. So yes, our little adventure is over. But it was such a great experience. Getting lost in the mountains with my dad. Getting to the top of a summit under a beautiful sunset. Those are memories you will never forget. And I think that sometimes pressing pause in your life is not a bad thing. I learned such a lot of things during that trip. Not about the world or the mountains, but about myself. But for this trip to the mountains to be over, there was only one thing missing.